ICE cars might fill faster, but you can't leave them filling and walk off and do other things like you can with an EV. What?
What?
I don't want to point out the obvious, but you've got pretty low standards and low self-esteem if you're going to be caught dead driving an MG.
Sounds racist.
That's just 100%
China.
Luke, have you heard the shocking news that Japanese automakers are combining forces to continue on ICE development? That's internal combustion engines.
Is that like combining forces like Captain Planet style?
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet! Captain Planet, he's our hero.
Except they're destroying the planet. Aren't you up to speed?
The consequences are clear and they are tragic.
Are you saying that wouldn't Mazda just be better off going down the electric path?
What did you say?
What ICE engines does Mazda sell that you'd actually want?
Couple of Braps, couple of Doritos. Despite the automotive industry shift towards EVs, Toyota, Mazda and Subaru are committed to developing new internal combustion engines.
This is all wrong.
At a recent joint conference, the companies highlighted their focus on the new technology to reduce carbon emissions. They stood side by side as they showcased smaller, more efficient engines designed to run on synthetic fuels, biofuels and liquid hydrogen and hybrid systems to improve efficiency and performance. So basically they're saying these smaller engines, they can get higher thermal efficiency or something, and effectively a smaller engine can make as much power as a larger engine, as you've seen with engines in the last decade or so, and you use even less fuel, but that's not good enough.
You do wonder where these engines might be, say, in another 30 years, if development wasn't strangled by government regulations.
Luke, what are you talking about? We don't have 30 years.
The era of global boiling has arrived.
Oh yeah, that's my bad.
Look, Toyota, which owns
30 more years of this.
Toyota, which owns stakes in both Subaru and Mazda, emphasised the benefits of smaller, more efficient engines that enhance aerodynamics and fuel economy. In recent years, Toyota has argued it is better to reduce the tailpipe emissions and fuel consumptions across dozens of cars rather than putting a single electric car on the road, which may be charged using dirty coal-fired power plants.
The air is unbreathable.
The CEO stressed that their multifaceted approach aims to reduce overall emissions, arguing that hybrid engines are more practical in regions relying on coal-generated electricity. While no rollout date has been announced, the move anticipates strict EU emissions regulations by 2030 and a CO2 engine ban by 2035.
Euro emissions aren't, what are they, you know, in South Africa, are they like upholding the Euro 7 emissions? And they're going to go to electric. Like, it's not like it covers the whole world.
We have the best emissions. We have the dirty fuel emissions here in Australia, but unfortunately they're going to be undone soon, which means no particulate filters on cars. We have the JAP spec power rating, not the crap they get in the UK. But apparently that's going to change, isn't it?
I always see this argument about where does the power supply come from, you know, dirty coal powering electric cars. Personally, I couldn't give a rat's ass. Like, if you want to drive an electric and it's powered off the sun or off dinosaur bones, like, who cares?
Who cares?
Just drive the car whatever you want. I just don't understand why this whole thing is so polarising. I was going to say to you, the only thing we ever talk about on Bench Talk now is electric cars. It's just
that's the only thing in the news. That's why this article was stirring the pot a bit, because how dare they keep continuing building ICE engines.
How dare you?
So of course, like, as expected, the climate cookers and EV nutters, as I like to call them, they are out in full force with this shocking announcement. Every second comment is calling them Kodak because they're about to expire and their days are over, because that's what happened to Kodak's failure to shift to digital. Suicide pact by Japanese car makers. Toyota and the others equals Nokia equals Kodak. That's the other one, they call them Nokia. Well, seppuku is part of the Japanese culture. It's actually not bad.
You're going to get flamed. You're going to get flamed online for that pronunciation, Jordo.
Seppuku. Toyota equals Nokia, Kodak, BlackBerry, etc. No vision, outdated, stubborn, moronic, afraid of changes, EV is the future.
I'm an electric car.
The future for them, not for everyone.
How very short-sighted of them, it's mind-boggling.
I can kind of understand Toyota's point of view though. Let's say you're selling, I don't know, 11 or 12 million cars a year. Why would you change dramatically from that model?
But Luke, apparently,
Just keep giving people the cars that they already buy.
apparently the biggest auto...
That's why Toyota's their biggest sellers. The styling of them never changes that much.
Well, Luke, the
in one
the biggest automaker in the world, apparently they've got no idea and they've got to listen to the climate cult because they know better about running a car company.
Haven't they been the biggest automaker for the last 5 years? They took over from Volkswagen, didn't they?
It's so sad to see Toyota going on a dirty oil path that leads to nowhere. The only dirty path are those poor, helpless children in the Congo mining for cobalt. Cobalt. Look, I just think of that other bench talk we did with the posters in the subway, and it had the Toyota guy, the CEO, and he had the devil eyes.
The eyes.
He's a demon.
He'd made a deal with the Crossroads demon.
They think
Winchester style. What?
They think their misinformation campaign is working. Misinformation.
Fake news.
Unfortunately, if recent conversations with friends and colleagues are anything to go by, their campaign is working. People trust Toyota and have a they're too big to fail and they must know what they're talking about mentality. Well, I'm sure being, as once again, the biggest automaker in the world, they've got some idea how to run a car company. But basically, if you haven't bought into the climate change hysteria, you're the one being misled.
Global boiling.
One day, they will all disappear, good riddance. A sinking ship called Toyota never ends here. The comparison to Kodak is sound. People just can't get their heads around the fact the world is shifting to a new business model.
So a lot of wishful thinking, and they talk like people into ICE engines seem to be in the minority. It's like, just look at new car sales. What are you going on about? The majority of people at this stage are still choosing non-electric cars.
This isn't how it's supposed to happen.
As you mentioned before, for a company that is about to die apparently, last year they sold over 11 million cars, #1 car maker, and they've been #1 for I think the last 4 or 5 years.
In Australia, they're just moving, I think, pretty much solely to hybrid, yeah?
Some of their models, yeah, some of their models they've ditched the petrol only and they're just selling hybrid. I think that was going to happen with the Corolla either soon or it's happened.
Does that include was it the $32,000 base model Yaris? It's not too far off your GR Yaris, Bill.
If I had shares in these companies, I'd be selling. 100 years of development of the ICE engine and they are still only at 25% efficiency compared to an electric motor.
It's pathetic.
I've got some hard truths for you, buddy. People driving ICE engines don't give a flying about the efficiency of the engine.
See, nobody cares.
They put the fuel in 2 minutes, they're gone down the road, see you later. I've only got 32% efficiency, whereas you've got 40. This is no good. I mean, seriously.
I've been filming a few Yankee pickup trucks lately. You're talking about efficiency. Those things are terrible in every aspect in terms of running costs, but hey, they can't convert them and bring them in fast enough, eh?
Yeah. It's because of this, Luke. What's wrong with biofuels? I mean, clearly it's been done in the past. Look, this is the best comment. Are they climate change deniers?
Global boiling.
World War II all over again. Never surrender, they will be crushed.
Crush your enemies.
They're comparing engines now to a world war.
These people ever actually look at some data about the so-called global emissions cut during our, great years? Was it 2020, 2021 when things kind of stopped and no one did anything and no one went anywhere and the global emissions didn't exactly plummet as much as what you might think. The only way you're fixing this so-called climate emergency is just to wipe out most of the population. Isn't that the aim?
Hey, better cut that talk out, you'll get banned.
Sick and tired of having no space to work on your car? Is your body saying,
I'm too old for this.
Don't have the right tools?
Shit, wrong size.
Don't be that guy. Be this guy. hire a hoist, and get access to all the right tools to work on your car. Full Boost Garage makes life easy. Visit fullboostgarage.com.au.
Sounds like they are literally giving up on taking on Tesla and BYD. I reckon it's game over in 3 to 5 years for the three losers. Three losers.
Game over, man. It's game over.
3 to 5 years.
Look, that's the same 3 to 5 years I've been hearing every year for at least 8 to 10 years. So I don't know when the 3 to 5 years is starting to kick in, but look, finally a logical comment. Take your first world goggles off and start seeing that ICE will be needed in many markets for a few more decades. Somebody has to supply them, and the Japanese are already in those markets. It's as much as maintaining those markets as anything. This is spot on. Have these people ever been to anywhere like a poorer country? Do they think ICE cars are going to disappear in a hurry? Plugging their EV in next to the bamboo hut?
It's all just about doing your part.
These poorer countries are generally dominated by diesel, right? It stinks. You can smell it everywhere. Now, do you think it's a bit easy to go get a jerry can of some fuel, or they can just get a charging station next to the bamboo hut? I mean, a lot of these poor people don't even have electricity for starters, but apparently EVs are going to take over these countries.
If you're poor, stop being poor.
Yeah, but then you got the other flip side. I see a lot of people in Australia talking as if like our domestic fleet, our normal daily driven cars are all going to be running on hydrogen.
No, I can't see that happening at all.
That's complete.
It's a fantasy thing that we all have down inside of us that we want to be true.
That's complete fantasy world.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I mean,
hydrogen to me would makes a lot of sense in like long haul trucking. That makes sense to me. But you honestly think you're going to have hydrogen fuel petrol stations being implemented everywhere? No one's even making hydrogen cars.
I think last month the new car sales, EVs were at 8% in Australia. But when you watch the news, they always pad it out and they throw hybrids in. I have no idea how a hybrid is even in the same category. You're still going to put fuel in it. It's got a tiny battery that just basically helps it use less fuel, but somehow that's in the category. So you'll see wild headlines like, oh, EVs made up 20% of new car sales, and as soon as you dive in, I don't think they've hit 10% in 1 month yet. They may have, but overall, but you know, it was meant to keep doubling, Luke. Every year it was.
What happened to the government's, you know, highly, you know, there's no reason why we're not going to be at 50% by 2030. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Fresh merch alert. If you're a fan of the FG Falcon, this is a perfect tee. Yes, it's a street car with its parachute and all, just as you'd see at the drags. Get on it. I'm going to get more designs out with more cars. I just touched on how EVs were about 8% last month. Now, if you look at a top 10 list of Australian new car sales from back in 2010, so it's not even 15 years ago, it's dramatically changed. This wasn't long after the financial crisis of 2008, where sales took a nosedive, and then growing about 10% through 2010.
This was really sort of before the massive influx of SUVs, yeah?
So if you look at the top 10 cars sold for 2010, Holden VE Commodore was number 1, followed by a Toyota Corolla.
VE, mate.
Look, the VE was the billion-dollar baby, wasn't it? A Hilux was 3rd, whereas now, the top 3, if not 4, are all those kind of cars.
Yeah, but didn't they sell the Hilux with that LS stomping, remember that V6 they were selling it with, the petrol one?
It had a banger 4 litre, didn't it? Wasn't it a 4 litre? That thing went really well.
I don't know.
It was a big engine.
Was it? Yeah, big engine. It was like a 4, yeah, you're right, I think it was a 4 litre.
But have a look at this list.
They don't sell
Have a look at
anything
this
like
list.
that now.
It's all sedans and hatchbacks. Mazda 3, 4th, then Hyundai i30, Ford Falcon, Holden Cruise, killer car.
Where's Falcon?
Falcon's number 6. Holden Cruise, Toyota Camry, Mitsubishi Lancer, Hyundai Getz. So there's not really...
So people are buying the Eco-Mang in droves over the... was that the Alloy Mang back then? I can't even remember. Over the Barra.
Yeah. And then what a surprise, even back in 2010, Toyota were like nearly double second place, which is Holden. Oh, that far ahead. 2010, the Kodak timeline was starting to kick in. 15 years later, they're still somehow number 1.
This whole article, though, it seems a bit... Because, I mean, all those 3 companies have kind of all got shares in each other, yeah?
Yeah, they're all related.
Seems a bit hyperbolic, but like the Japanese market, they're not really into electric cars like other parts of the world, are they?
I don't know how true it is, but people are claiming that one reason EVs haven't been heavily invested there is that they don't have a grid that is very good and would handle it because it's so old. I don't know though if that's true. I'm sure people can comment on that though. Or is that more of Toyota's misinformation?
Fake news. Global boiling.
Another stupid EV article. People are going to be loving this, Luke. A lot of boost in these articles.
Come on, man. What are we talking about?
I have had 3 people ask me in the last week, what's going on with full charge, so...
Come on.
Look, this Aussie woman said she felt like a second-class citizen on a recent road trip where she was forced to charge her car in the dark. Heaven forbid.
I don't want to point out the obvious, but you've got pretty low standards and low self-esteem if you're going to be caught dead driving an MG.
Sounds racist.
That's just 100%
China.
An Aussie EV driver has shared the sometimes unsettling reality of going on a road trip as a solo woman. She's ticking all the boxes here, Luke, saying she often felt stranded at remote charging stations which were sometimes dark and lacked basic amenities like toilets and mobile coverage. When she embarked on her 800-kilometre interstate drive, she didn't expect to be confronted with so many obstacles.
Oh, boo-hoo! Well, you kind of are stranded at those places. I mean, they don't even have shitters at half of them. There's no food. Half of them don't even have, you know, an awning over the top. So, like, if it's pissing down rain, you're just sitting in your car for 45 minutes.
She said that the return trip cost a mere $150, a fraction of the price you'd pay in petrol.
Whoa, hang on.
Don't worry, Luke, about the extra 10 grand minimum she spent on this EV over the petrol. Just irrelevant facts.
We choose truth over facts.
Hang on, but hang on a sec. It depends what. So you said 800k, so I'm assuming that's one way. She's gone 1600 k's, and she spent 150 bucks. I wouldn't say that's a fraction. It totally depends on what vehicle you're driving. Some vehicles are extremely efficient in those situations, but saying that, at the same time, she's just wiped 10 gorillas out as soon as she's driven off that MG parking lot. She's just lost 10 grand, gone up in smoke.
I was making a joke that she spent at least 10 grand extra for the EV. I'm looking at these. We've actually got some data here. You've actually prepared this. It's a lot more than that, but $150, Luke. You'd want it to be cheaper with the depreciation you're copying on that MG. These roaches are around 47,000. Is that how much they are? An EV MG, $47,000. But you can grab a second-hand one for under 25. Well, why would I want to buy a second-hand? I love it when people bring second-hand prices into when they're comparing new cars. It's completely irrelevant. I mean, love that your car's going to be worth about 10 grand in about 3 years. So,
who on earth would want to buy a second-hand MG, even a petrol one? Like, you know the MG. It's just that meme where the guy sticks the pole through his spokes on the bike.
This is an issue, but this is definitely not how you go about bringing attention to it. The words that sum up the article are lack of planning. Always planning with the EV.
Always the planning. Yep.
Our calculation. You're going to need to refuel there, but that's a situation with only one solution. Roger that.
A lot of planning, Jordan. You can't just hop in your car and go, oh, you know, gotta hit that shitter at 300 k's, crank one out back in the car, straight through Macca's drive-through, get some slop on your way. I need to stretch my legs for 25 minutes. These are the sorts of people that've got a thermos, they've got their cup of tea, sandwiches and Glad wrap. It's all prepared. It's got to be all prepared. Because there's no food where you're getting charged.
This one is just insanity. ICE cars might fill faster, but you can't leave them filling and walk off and do other things like you can with an EV. What?
What?
Instead of just filling up the car in 5 minutes and be on your way, it's somehow positive that you get stuck at this joint for an hour, twiddling your thumbs.
Thumbs up their asses, thumbs up their asses.
And you can walk off, I don't know, take a shit in a dirty toilet, or whatever you've got to do. Apparently that's better than just being there for 5 minutes and taking off. Like those ice lovers don't know it. They don't have to wait an hour. It's a pity on them.
Yeah, but hang on. You wouldn't even need to fill the ice car because it's going to travel twice the distance on one tank. So you could just pull into the parking lot, park, and then you could just walk around for an hour perusing whatever. That's you know, when you look at the thing and go, that they're making the best of a bad situation. I mean, that's just taking the PI55 right there, isn't it?
I skimmed the article and thought it was a bit over the top. At the end was a live poll on EVs. I clicked I already own one and was saddened by the results that popped up. 71% of respondents voted no, I'm not interested. The question was, would you consider buying an EV? And these are the results. And she,
surely this must be in a Murdoch publication to get those results.
Oh, everything's Murdoch.
That pesky Murdoch.
So please answer or think about these. Why are fuel station Bowsers, calls them Bowsers in Australia, brightly lit up at night? Why are almost all fuel stations fitted with CCTV and it's not just used for drive-offs? What, are you saying there's a conspiracy that they're lit up well and the EV charging stations aren't? Where are they going with these statements? Right, so she didn't get properly prepared for her trip. And that's the fault of the charging networks. It's all about the planning, Luke. Then you can plan your trip, you can get to the charging station and
things out of order.
You can walk around for you can walk around for an hour and a half, and that's the advantage of owning an EV. Just walking around, wasting time.